That's going to do it for topic number 8. Moving on to topic number 9, we're going to head to baseball. Even though the World Series is over, Atlanta Braves won the title. Now all the postseason awards are coming out. And is Shohei Ohtani a shoo-in? Is Shohei definitely going to be the MVP of the American League brand? What do you think?
Well, we all know my vote, and it's for superstar Shohei Ohtani, Showtime, the man himself, the young Japanese superstar that we love so much and have covered so much this season because he gives us so much to talk about. I mean, every day he was delivering something new, whether it was making history on the mound or in the batter's box or even stealing bases. This guy was doing it all this season. And he brought the eyes back to baseball. He brought the money back to baseball. He brought the international fans back to baseball. In my eyes, this is an easy vote. Undeniably, the MVP of the baseball year was Shohei Ohtani, man. So I know there's a couple other guys that we can bring up that had some great seasons. I know we talked about Vlad Jr. earlier in the year, that he's possibly in that conversation as well. But I just don't think with the year that Shohei Ohtani had, on the field, off the field. And like I said, he just did it all, man. We've never seen this done in the likes of baseball. People were bringing up the name Babe Ruth and comparing him to Babe Ruth. I mean, you haven't heard that in a long time. This guy is clearly one of the best players in baseball. He is clearly the best international player in baseball right now. And I think he is the MVP of the league.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, so they just announced the MVP finalists. Shohei's obviously won. You mentioned Vlad Jr. And then Simeon, also the second baseman from Toronto, is also in there. And then on the National League side, you have Bryce Harper, Juan Soto, and Fernando Tatis Jr. What you don't have in any of those MVP finalists is anybody who played in the playoffs. None of those guys' teams made it to the postseason. So, you have, and that was one question marks I had about Shohei was, should the MVP have at least been close to making the postseason? Should they have been fighting for a postseason position? I think if Toronto had gotten into the playoffs, I think you'd have a stronger case for Vlad Jr. because he was that good and he was hitting bombs for Toronto late in the season. But the thing is with Toronto too, you had other great guys in the lineup. Just look at the other MVP finalist, Simeon. And then on top of that, you had Biggio and a few other guys, on that team. Bo Bichette's obviously a good young hitter as well. So you had a pretty stacked lineup. They just signed George Springer last year. He was good as soon as he got healthy. So, it wasn't like Vlad Jr. was doing it all by himself, and they didn't get into the playoffs. Shohei's team didn't make the playoffs either, but he was carrying the Angels, hitting the baseball, pitching, and then you got to remember, Mike Trout missed most of the season. So you didn't have this stacked lineup where Shohei was seeing a lot of pitches, teams walked him. He had to kind of earn the kind of numbers he put up, both at the plate and on the mound, because he didn't have as much help as some of these other players did throughout the year. So, the fact that none of these guys were in the postseason, the fact that, Shohei did not play in a stacked lineup where he could kind of, see good pitches and to hit the ball in the ballpark, I'm definitely taking Shohei. I probably would have taken him anyway, but Shohei has to be the MVP in the American League. We're going to find out Thursday night, so next Thursday, the 18th. So we'll have one more show to try to convince everybody that Shohei should be the MVP, although I don't know how much convincing we're going to have to do. He put up such a good year this year.
Man, just go look at his numbers, look at all the coverage, look at all the fans that love him. He is clearly the MVP of the baseball season, man. I just can't see anybody else stacking up against him when you look at everything. And like I said, I mean, he was making history a lot of times this season. I mean, when have you talked about a guy, playing in the outfield, going in the batter's box, on the mound, stealing bases? He was doing it all, man. We even made jokes about how he needed to catch games and start calling games behind the plate because he was doing everything. So I just clearly think he is the best player in baseball and deserves to be the MVP. But let's move on to the final topic tonight, and that's topic number 10.